All right, what's going on, y'all? Got another video for you. This one's probably like a follow up to the um, black, attractive, and autistic video that I made. It's going to be kind of a running theme for my channel moving forward. I'm trying to tap into those subjects a little bit more since they, affect my day to day, and they're always going to be in the forefront of my mind. But I want to give a little bit more clarity to it because I just feel like that those three things are like the main ingredients that made me to the man that I am today, and how I am starting to like accept all three of those things at the same time because it is causing a whole lot of the chaos that is going on in my life currently. But yeah, to start it off with, uh, pretty much like the very beginning of my life, all throughout my adolescence, I just never really considered myself anything extraordinary or out of the ordinary. I just thought I was like a regular kid, like everyone else. I expected to be treated as such as well. I kind of went off of what I saw on TV and movies, what I saw from the media about how I was going to be treated. I always felt like I was, a very gifted, very, a little bit more, got a little bit more going on than the average kid, but nothing more than that. Never really understood why I got special treatment sometimes from people as a kid, but that was a side effect of me being undiagnosed with autism, while also being like gaslit and lied to by the people in my environment, in my community, in my home, and all that. So it's like me, seeing other people and trying to blend in, trying to find my niche, my group, fit in with them, while also being lied to, being told that I'm not attractive, that I'm ugly, that I there's nothing special. Mix in a whole lot of just the environment that I was in wasn't very motivating. A lot of people who was around me, they didn't have a whole lot of high hopes or goals for themselves. So it definitely, there weren't too many role models growing up, honestly. I had some in my family. I have a few in my family, but I wasn't around them too much during my adolescence. But that whole scenario, that event, that experience caused me to just go through the majority of my life just not seeing anything all too special about me. I never really can compare myself to anybody else. Only people who I really did compare myself to was, oddly enough, like a lot of like athletes, professional athletes, especially basketball players. I was always into the NBA, always into basketball. That was always my passion. I would play it at school, play with my friends. I would play basketball sports games all the time, NBA Street, NBA Live, 2K. I would play all those in the early 2000s, going up to like the early teens, 2010s, 2011s. That was like my jam. I always played sports games, always used those as the outlet of the person who I wanted to be, mainly because I just did not like the environment that I was living in, and I did not feel any type of like camaraderie with the people who I went to school with. So I never actually felt the need to, join any of the team sports. I tried out a few times, but like I said, I never really actually put in a whole lot of effort to it. So I wasn't all that great as a kid, but that was still, something that contributed to me just not fully understanding like who I was um and what being black, autistic, and attractive means. Because the autistic and attractive part, those two are definitely like the main ingredients of why I've had the hardest time accepting this part of me, because my autism makes me like very, very logical. It makes me try to get to the most logical, common sense conclusions as soon as possible. And a lot of times when I would be in a situation where, someone would take a liking to me, I would try to find the most logical answer why that was, right, which had nothing to do with my attraction. I would never use that as any type of indicator of why someone was actually gravitating towards me. It was something that I might have done, something that I might have said. Maybe they liked a certain part of my wardrobe or whatever, but they might like how I was just kind of keeping myself up. But I never looked at it as anything that was even remotely biological at all. It didn't make sense to me because it wasn't how I was raised to look at things from that lens. You didn't really see that too much in media. They weren't actually, had the courage to really tell people how much looks actually matters about how people perceive you. People weren't as black-pilled as they are today. Growing up, in the 2000s, so that knowledge, that information wasn't really all that available to me, especially at my age. And I don't think even like the red pill stuff didn't really start taking off until like I think the 90s, maybe the 90s or the early 2000s. On the radio hosts and the comedians and all that, when they started really picking up on that, but that really wasn't on my radar at the time, so I had no idea. And that's pretty much been consistent for me until maybe, I want to say, like 3 or 4 years ago, when I truly started to accept like how attractive I actually am, according to other people, because I am just constantly finding myself in situations where, if this were to happen to an average person, the amount of looks I get from people in public, the amount of attention I get, the amount of people just come up to me out of nowhere and start conversations with me. While I'm not even doing anything in that moment, and understanding that it's just not good luck, or it's not luck. There really isn't a whole lot of things that have to do with free will that are causing people to do it. People are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day, and if what they want to do persists to having a conversation with me in any way, shape, or form, that's pretty much what is what they want to do. So, going on to like the autism side of this and why it's so confusing for me, especially starting any type of relationship with someone, when I know that my intentions have always been like, get to know the person and then figure out where you want to place them in your life. Get as much information about this person as humanly possible, then you make that decision. I've always had crushes. I always liked girls just because I found them attractive, but it stays there. It never really went any further than that. Mainly because I just never had that trust in myself that I was even like worthy of a relationship, or a serious one, for the longest time. So it kind of stayed that way. But then now that I'm an adult now, have many experiences and many relationships afterwards, it still is pretty difficult for me to fully understand and grasp and accept how attractive I am, and how even someone who, from a societal lens, might be doing very well, they shouldn't find me attractive enough to have any type of dealings with me, any type of a relationship with me, from like a social lens. Because they're with someone, they're married, they're high status person, but that doesn't change the biology of things. And that is something that I'm just starting to really accept, is that from the biological side of things, it makes complete sense why people will gravitate towards me, why living creatures have gravitated towards me, why certain people will be like, oh, my dog doesn't like anyone but it likes you, or my cat doesn't like anyone but it likes you, my kids don't like anyone but they like you. There's just something about me in a biological sense that just attracts people to me, and I've just been running from that truth for pretty much my whole entire life, because I always kind of maybe like drunk the Kool-Aid about we're all being the same, we're all being similar, we're all in this together. There really isn't too many differences between us, which is true. We are, from like a DNA point of view, we are very similar, but there's definitely noticeable differences between us that kind of causes us to feel a certain type of way about each other, where we are constantly hyper focusing on our differences instead of looking at our similarities. And it's causing a whole lot of mass insecurities from people. And I definitely, that's part of what's causing me to do this acceptance, is because I am just getting so many offers from people in every sense of the word, from like friendships, relationships, situationships, this all types of things. From my social lens, like I said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not really a big uh, socially. I don't have a whole lot of clout. I'm just a construction worker with a small little YouTube channel, trying to be a neurobiologist. Trying to work on what's causing all these issues with people not building connections, not loving themselves, and just kind of taking a whole lot of mental steps back on the surface. Even though I feel like it's a little bit more complicated than that. But I even lost my train of thought. Going back to the autism thing, though, is just my goal when it comes to myself and when it comes to my brain is to put myself in the best situation for me to just go on to the next day, next experience, next event. Because on the attractive tip, once you kind of are in that very, very small group of people, especially men, there just aren't that many conventionally attractive men today. I'm not even sure compared to before. I'm not even sure how to even get those numbers, but I just know by my experience that there isn't a whole lot of us out here that are making people just feel a certain type of way as soon as you walk into a room. So now that I am like accepting that I'm one of those people, it just causes a whole lot of, I just get it's never a dull moment in my life. I've never had a regular this boring day when I'm out in public. I can only have a boring day in isolation by myself. I can never do it outside of it. There's always going to be something that's going to happen, something that's going to occur, and which is beautiful, but it can be beautiful. But being neurodivergent, having autism with ADHD, but the autism side of it, which I just need to process things a lot slower than the average person, that probably won't have too many negative effects for an average looking autistic person, because they're not getting as many things thrown at them for them to process on a daily basis as someone who's more attractive. And since I am, like I said, very very conventionally attractive, I am a handsome man, I just get so many things thrown at me on a daily basis that I just feel like I have been processing them for like the past 10 years. I've been processing my 31 years on this life for the past 10 years, and this keeps getting more and more and more for more and more things for me to process. I technically right now have like 3 therapists helping me kind of unpack everything, mainly because it's hard for me to trust people who I know in my real life. Even if we are friends, it's kind of hard to get that unbiased opinion from people, even though I know therapists are people too. They're going to have some biases as well, and I'm kind of navigating that has been crucial for me to at least keep some semblance of sanity left. But the amount of things that get thrown at me on a daily basis, especially like I was saying about people being insecure and me being in really good shape, me being healthy, fit, attractive, have a lot of good qualities about me. It just causes a whole lot of people just to throw shit at me, just to throw whatever, how they're feeling, how they're not feeling, what's going on, this, that, and the third. People are just going to always have an opinion about me. People are always just going to just feel a certain type of way about me. And because of how my brain works and how it just takes in all of the stimulus around me, I walk into a room and everyone has some type of thought about me, even if it's just for 5 seconds. I still had to absorb it. I still had to take note of it. Oh, she was looking. Oh, he was looking. Like she was looking. And now it's this. Everything kind of gets thrown at me to where I just been noticing that people are doing things in my peripheral vision. I'm definitely being part of people's manipulation, or this their tactics to kind of be cruel to other people. And it's hard for me to process all of that when I'm processing everything that happened earlier that day. I'm processing everything that happened earlier the week, earlier in the month, earlier than a year, to where it just becomes so overwhelming. I just go on autopilot, and thankfully I have like enough scripts that I've learned through having conversations with people to where I can get out of those situations pretty much unscathed. But I still, when I have time to reflect on those situations, find like so many things I wish I would have done differently if I would have had the knowledge that I have now about just how attractive I am and how that is going to affect everyone around me. It's going to cause a whole lot of misunderstandings, me being misunderstood, or miscommunications, and it's just having a hard time understanding who's in my life because they want to be part of what I'm working on, or am I just part of some of their master plan about who they want to be or who they see themselves as. You know, it's always, like I said, it's always something. It's kind of hard to really put that into simplified words, but just being, a black and attractive man, it's going to bring a whole lot of things on your plate. But autism added to it is just a whole different ball game. Even though I know autism isn't like some new thing, there have been black attractive autistic men for probably decades, maybe even hundreds of years. We just didn't have a label of it. I know we're going to eventually get to a point where we're going to be able to pinpoint when exactly our brains really started to evolve, and when we had more and more geniuses just popping up out of nowhere. But I just know, like now in current year, having autism and this processing everything is just a lot different because there's so much to process now versus the 1600s, the 1700s. Sorry, the 60s and the 70s, when there just wasn't as much technology just sapping your energy as much as it is today, where you're just processing, you're driving, you're processing everything that's in your car. You're processing the street lights, you're processing everyone in front and behind you, the construction, the people. There's just way too many things to process now versus before, since we're all kind of in like these giant sardine cans too. That doesn't help that we have so many people around us that are kind of also making us overwhelmed. That's why I believe a lot of people who are neurodivergent, especially autistic, should probably find a way to get as close to nature in this far, not as far away from, but just isolate yourself from people as much as you possibly can, because we definitely do need our space. We definitely need our alone time. But yeah, that's been like my main thing that I just haven't fully accepted about myself. Not until recently, is that is what's causing so many of my problems. Is I haven't fully accepted like how attractive I am, even though I would never know. There's no way for me to actually know, because people will never tell me to my face how attractive I am, and how people perceive me. I get little nuggets every once in a while. I'm not completely, saying blind to it. I always known I wasn't a bad looking dude, but I just never knew it. I just never knew all the biological advantages I had over people, and why people treat me the way that they treat me. But it makes sense now. It makes a whole lot of sense, and I'm embracing it because it's my life. I can't take the good without taking the bad as well. So moving forward, I'm just going to be more. I'm going to, by doing this radical acceptance of this, I have been able to free up so much of my mental space by chalking up a lot of these situations with this. They're out of my control because of how people feel about me, how they feel about themselves. And the more I see people tapping into that, especially when they're using me as like a a pawn in their game, I'm definitely going to speak out about it and tell people how it makes me feel, because no one can read my mind. No one knows what I'm going through. No one really knows what's going on a day-to-day basis with me, and then vice versa. I don't know what's going on with them. So passing judgment and feel a certain type of way isn't really going to do a whole lot in the long term. But I definitely know that this overwhelming feeling that I'm getting when I just constantly get into new groups and trying to make new relationships and new commitments to other people, it is it is important for me from here on out to keep in my forefront of my mind that I am black, I'm attractive, and I have autism. And that's just going to change how I view the world. I'm always going to look at people and think the best of them when I first meet them, and no longer. And I'm still going to do that. But I'm no longer going to get upset or get mad when people kind of deviate from where I thought they were going to be. Because at the end of the day, I don't even know these people. You know what I'm saying? I just met you. Who am I to tell you to say, oh, me and you are going to be best friends, or we're going to respect each other and love each other, and do all these great things? Because you don't have that right to do that to me, so how can I have that right to do that to you? So me just accepting people for who they are, and hopefully I can continue to attract people who are willing to put in the work to get past all these biological urges that we have, or at least like be able to talk about it. That's kind of where I want to get to, is be able to talk to people openly and honestly about how we feel about each other, and so we can kind of, you know, be better humans about these things, and not walk on eggshells and just act like everything's okay, everything's cool. Um, 'Cause it's not, you know, it's definitely not. You know, coming to terms with who I am, and figuring out how people truly feel about me, even though I would never fully know. I just know that I understand I get attraction from people, and understand that I am just a very, very handsome man, according to other people. And that is just, I stand out a lot more today than if I was the same person 50 years ago. Like I said, we just look very different from each other now than we did before. And if it wasn't for the black pill community, I would still kind of be in this very confused state of not knowing why I'm being treated the way that I treated, why other people get treated this way, why people want to treat attractive people this way, especially people with autism. Because I think we all subconsciously know who has autism and who doesn't. Just how we treat them. I think we just treat people with autism as not the greatest. We're always kind of cruel with them, or neurodivergent people in general, because of how we feel about ourselves. But yeah, by me just kind of getting closer to the truth and understanding a lot of these things are out of my control, and it's always going to be this way. You know, look at my dad, look at my mom. Life hasn't slowed down for them. Life hasn't been any easier on them, or on my siblings, or any other family members, any other celebrities that look like me or kind of have the same thing that I'm got going on. People don't let up. People will never let up. And I know that the vast majority of these people that I'm talking about are neurodivergent, probably have autism, have that evolved mind to where they're just constantly processing things. And when you're constantly processing things while also getting so many things thrown at you at a rapid rate, it just becomes impossible for you to really make any headway, or make any moves when you just feel like you're just in this quicksand and you can't really get out of it. It's definitely can be like a very numbing feeling, knowing that feeling like you're hopeless in these situations. But yeah, the acceptance of who I am and who I'm supposed to be is always going to be in the forefront of my mind, because I know I'm going to achieve everything I'm going to do. I know I want to come out here and help people learn more about themselves, destigmatize being autism, being autistic, being neurodivergent, liking hobbies, trying to get past this weird but necessary gender war, this race war, just try to get all the nastiness out of people, out of all of us. I got it too. We're all susceptible of it, to it, and just try to really get back to the love of who we are, and where we're going to try to get to as a collective. I know it's there. We're begging for it every single day, trying to find connection and community. It's just, how do we get there? It's not going to be very typical. It's going to have to be a very neurodivergent movement for very neurodivergent people, and we will get to a better place. I know we are. I don't want to leave people in this nihilistic state of helplessness. I understand that life has no meaning, but that's what makes life worth living, because you can make the meaning that you want to make, even if people want to choose violence and make that their meaning. The opposite can also be true in that sense. People can choose peace as their meaning. So just gotta get past these growing pains, get past everything that we're going through, this rejection of what's actually happening in front of us, and accepting that we were, all of us, just kind of trying to make things work. We're all just kids stuck in adults' bodies, really just trying to figure life out, and it's never going to stop. It's never going to end, and it makes getting up every single day and knowing what you're working towards worth it. You know what I'm saying? Having that goal, having that vision, having that drive, it definitely makes all of this worth it. Everything that I've gone through, and I will make more specific stories about these things, especially if these take traction, because I do want to set an example for people about what to do. I even have a couple of people in my real life, offline life, that I helped them through this because they're younger than me, and I kind of opened up about what I went through and what I experienced, and it's helping them kind of understand where they are, and where they fit in the world, and why people are acting the way that why they're acting. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But to round everything off, being black, attractive, and autistic is just taught me so much about who I am, and taught me a whole bunch about everyone around me, and how I am just struggling to stay sane. Not so much sane in stay. I guess the better word is I'm trying to keep my composure, and not allow all this to overwhelm me to where I'm spazzing out and losing my cool, which I did a few months ago. I've been doing it for a while, but at the same time, all that stuff needs to happen. That's part of the acceptance, is defending yourself and being true to your values and your morals. Excuse me. So, yeah, part of the acceptance is understanding that this is kind of how people are. This is kind of how humans are as animals, where we're going to do and slash out at each other and make ourselves feel very, make ourselves feel big when we're small, and small when we're big, and all this fun stuff. But at the same time, we're just getting through it. I don't want to blame anybody. I do want to tell people, the experiences that I've had, the story times or whatever, and how, because of my autism, I kind of misunderstood so many situations with other people that was probably very amusing to people watching it, but to me, I was always very confusing why people were just very narrow divergent when it came to dealing with me, instead of coming up to me and telling me how they feel to my face or any other way. But even when some people did, I still didn't take it the right way, because I was still in denial about who I am. But I do want to continue this series of being black, attractive, and neurodivergent, because I just know so many people can relate to it, and hopefully people who have not been diagnosed can hopefully take some lessons from these videos about maybe they might be neurodivergent, maybe they might be a little on the spectrum, especially if you even look anything remotely like me. The odds of that are going to be pretty significant. I think there's multiple parts of my face that actually shows my neurodivergent brain, but I'm not entirely sure. There's studies, and I'll even link some maybe in a future video about how there are children who have very autistic faces. Um, there is some markers that we can tell, but that's pretty much what my videos and my channels gonna be going towards, is like how people's brains are wired, and how our brains are trying to make the most of the bodies that they were given. My autistic brain did not know it was going to begin a 6'2", very well melanated, handsome black man as its host. So getting both of those two on the same page, having them both link up and being like, hey, we gotta stop working against each other. We really gotta be on the same page about this, because we're going to get very much we're going to be receiving a lot better treatment, and we're also going to be getting better results if we're both on the same page about how we're going to tackle this one little instance, one little experience. Go experience from experience, day by day, moment to moment, so I can just get better results instead of just going into things and getting blindsided by people treating me differently than how I feel about myself. Get out of my head, get in the presence, and do all this acceptance of who I am and who other people are, and start really living my true values and my true self, even though I have been doing it. Not accepting how I am perceived by other people isn't truly doing that, and I understand that and I am definitely coming to terms with that part of the grieving process of who I used to be and who I am now, who I've always been. So that's it. More to come, more rambling, more yamming, more yapping. But that's all I got for y'all tonight. Y'all take it easy.